This is Kelly Hutchings, and we're here at Goose Pond Studios, and I'm here tonight to have a nice little chat with Wayne Miller, who's not only an actor, but he's a director, but most importantly, he is a playwright. And so we're going to talk a little bit with Wayne and find out what inspires Wayne, how he gets his ideas, and what he looks for when he goes to write a show. So Wayne, welcome, first of all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming out here tonight. We're just going to go ahead and start out with questions on how and when did you discover that you were a writer?
I was probably too young to actually remember it.
Okay.
I've been writing since before I knew how to, before I knew the alphabet.
Okay. What kinds of things when you were real young did you write?
Before I knew how to, use words, I would draw pictures.
Okay.
And I would draw little picture comic books.
Oh, how sweet. Oh, that just makes me happy. Doesn't it make y'all happy? I like that. All right. So you were real young when you started. When you were older, what took over the possession of writing? What made you say, this is what I want to do? This is the direction I'm going to be a writer.
Finally, just the realization that I would never be happy doing anything else. Okay.
Well, very good. You're lucky. You're one of the lucky few that have found really what makes them happy and is able to do it and be creative, and that's a good thing. I haven't found that yet. How long have you been writing?
Well, again, since childhood, but seriously...
Serious writing.
20-something years.
Okay. You have written many shows. I've been in a few of them, but you've written many different types of shows. You've rewritten classics such as Frankenstein and Dracula. You have done comedies such as How Not to Commit a Murder and What Not to Do When Your House is Haunted. And you have also done some shows that are very thought-provoking and quite controversial, such as Communion and Joey Hart Says Goodbye, which you just closed this past weekend. What kinds of shows do you like to write the most?
Well, I'm a horror junkie.
A horror junkie?
Always have been. So that's my first love.
Okay. So the Dracula, well, we see the vampires on his shirt. So Dracula, which is one of my favorites. And then Frankenstein, I also loved. But what other shows along that line have you written that haven't been produced yet, that you're waiting to get out there?
I really don't have any just sitting on a shelf.
Okay.
My shelf is pretty well clear right now, as far as things that I had written that I wanted to get performed someday.
Okay.
So I'm pretty well caught up.
You're caught up right now. All right. Well, then, where do your inspirations come from?
It could be from anything. How Not to Commit a Murder came from a book that I had read based on a true crime case.
Okay.
How Not to Commit a Murder 2 was one of those true crime documentaries that they show 48 hours or something like that, that I just saw on TV.
Okay.
And, the fictional ones, I don't really know where they come from.
Okay, well, we did a show together called Communion, which was a very controversial show. It was very, almost along the lines of a horror show, because it was horrific what happened in this play. Where does an idea like that come from?
Well, that particular show, I had read about the case and I've become familiar with the case and found it so troubling that I knew that there was a story there to tell. There are questions that I wanted to seek to answer that I don't think there really are any answers for, but the play helped me to at least form them into a coherent pattern.
Okay. Now, talking about patterns, what is the thought process and what is the actual, well, you have a thought process first. So what is that thought process when thinking about doing a show? And then second question to go along with that first question, when you get it in your mind and all together, how do you go about writing it? Do you write first for the story, or do you do like the different parts, characters, or do you write for a specific actor sometimes? Or do you do all of your shows that you write and then you place the actors into the roles? Does that make sense?
Yeah, the story always first.
Story always first.
Yeah,
okay.
The characters don't look like any of my actors.
Okay.
And once the play is finished, then I decide who could possibly play what.
Okay.
But when I'm creating the first time, they have to be completely independent. I've only ever written one part for a specific actor.
You want to say which part that was?
It was in How Not to Commit a Murder 2.
Okay.
The Judge. That part was written for Marcy Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Who was in the first one, and she was the bailiff. And so I decided that a few years had passed, and so she had been going to law school, and she has become a judge. And so in the How Not to Commit a Murder 2, she is the judge presiding over the case. And that was the only instance where I really had her in mind from the very beginning. So I wrote that character's dialogue, hearing her voice in my head.
Great. Okay. Kudos to you, Marcy, my sister. All right. Okay. So, in this these many years of writing, how many plays have you actually written?
I think about 15 now.
15. And how many have you put on the stage?
Close to that number.
Well, you said that your cupboard was about empty.
I'd had the Joey Hart Says Goodbye written for a few years now, about 4 or 5 years, with the intention of performing it eventually. Mm-hmm. And having just finished that one, I don't think I have any others that I've had in waiting that I haven't performed at some point or other.
Gotcha. All right, when you have this idea of a play in your mind and you have it all written out and you're ready to put it on the stage, how do you cast a play? What do you look for in your actors?
Ability.
Yeah,
you want someone who can bring that character to life. Mm-hmm. And they have to have a certain degree of competency in order to do that. Mm-hmm. And of course, if the character is supposed to be an elderly male, you can cast a young man and then age him.
Right.
But you don't want to cast a teenage girl in the part of an elderly male. So there's some degree of physical requirements that you have to take into consideration.
Okay.
That being said, I'm a big fan of blind casting.
Yes, you are.
I don't have a problem casting, a black character in a role that would normally be for a Caucasian performer, because unless specific to that play, the skin color is an issue, then I don't think that it should be an issue.
Okay, very good. All right, so now you've had the thought, you've written the play, you've cast it. How do you go about finding a venue for your shows?
Well, that only really ever happened to me once, when I had shows and I had actors and I didn't have a venue. And what I did on that occasion was I just started contacting different places in the area, asking them if they would be amenable to people coming in and performing.
Gotcha.
Found the Historic Lowry House, which is our primary venue. Mm-hmm. And then through that, I have found other places. Meeting people who own other venues and talking to them, and hopefully we're going to be branching out and expanding, and we'll be able to do more shows in other venues as well, as we have more people working under the Evil Cheese banner.
Evil Cheese, that's what I was going to bring that up next. So Wayne's production company is called Evil Cheese. Where did that name come from?
It was a cartoon drawing that I saw
Okay.
of just this head of cheese with this wicked little grin and devil horns and stuff. And I can't even remember where it was or when, but it's something that stuck in my head. And so I created my own unique version of that with my limited Photoshop skills, and that's where the name comes from.
Evil Cheese Productions, correct?
And I figure those would be the two biggest complaints against my work, being primarily a horror writer and starting out as a horror writer. A lot of people who don't like horror tend to demonize the writer. You know, Stephen King
Yes.
is viewed as, this evil person, when in reality he's a pacifist and all that. Just because he writes scary things, people who don't like that sort of material tend to have that view of him. So I figure, some people might look at some of my stuff and say, well, that's evil. And then they'd say, oh, that's really cheesy. So
Evil cheese. There you go. Makes perfect sense now. Well, nobody can categorize you, though. I mean, I don't think, because you have so many different kinds of shows out there. You did say that your favorite is a horror. You like the horror venue, but you've had a children's show that you've actually written, and you've done a musical. What can you tell me about those two shows?
Well, even the children's show has that little edge to it because it's based on a scary fairy tale.
Okay.
But I look at it as it's sort of like your diet. I love sweets. I have a huge sweet tooth, but you can't eat sweets all the time.
True.
I go into sugar shock. So you want a well-balanced diet.
Gotcha.
Even if sweets are your favorite.
Okay.
So I try to be versatile and do all kinds of different material.
Okay. You have done a musical. How is a musical different from your other shows?
There's a lot more to worry about with a musical, and especially for me with no musical ability whatsoever. I had to find someone who had musical ability to handle that for me.
Okay.
But you can't just worry about the acting and the blocking. You have to get the songs. You have to figure out a way, if you're in a limited space, to work around musical instruments. How do you bring them on stage? How do you get them off stage? You have to try to figure out how much of the play should be music, how much of it should be acting. Make sure one doesn't overpower the other. Keep it in balance. Make sure the whole thing doesn't run too long. So it's definitely more challenging for me.
Are they enjoyable?
They are. Yeah. Just like all my shows, I really enjoyed the musical that we did. It was different.
It was different. Okay. All right. Besides the actors, how do you find the other people that help you out? The tech, the sound, hair, makeup, lighting. How do you find those people to come help you out? Because nobody gets paid with your shows, correct?
Just this year, last year, we've started being able to pay a stipend to my performers.
Oh, very good.
So I was very glad to be able to finally start doing that.
Oh,
But it's certainly not, nobody's going to get rich doing Wonderful. No, it's a labor of love.
Very few actors do get rich. We do it for the love. We people do it for the love of their craft. But and I'm sure that's why you write too, is because you love the craft. So when you're not writing, what do you do? What do you enjoy doing?
I sleep. To some degree or other, writing makes up the majority of my life.
Okay.
The day job is writing. My hobby is writing. Our social life is the theater and all the people that we meet through the theater.
Okay.
So,
what kind of writing do you do for your real job?
well, I write for vampires.com.
Vampires.com.
And 4 other websites.
Oh my goodness.
All owned by the same company, but I write content for the 4 different sites. And I'm in charge of the social media for those sites as well.
Okay.
So I have to get online and interact with readers and fans and try to engage them and keep them interested so they'll keep coming back.
How do you keep people interested? What do people find interesting about your writing?
It's a constant guessing game because what engages one person will bore another one. And so I really, the only thing I can do is I ask myself, will this subject be of interest to me?
Mm-hmm.
And usually, if the answer is yes, then it's going to be of interest to other people who have the same tastes and interests that I do.
Sure.
And then hopefully my enthusiasm for it will also kind of draw them in. But I can't focus just on being a history lover myself. I love to write about the historical aspects of certain things, but that is not of interest to everyone. So I can't let myself go too far and just do that. Some people love Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Mm-hmm.
so I have to cover that.
Okay.
Things like that.
So you got the evil and the cheese
Mm-hmm.
in all your writing. What are your hobbies? Do you have time for hobbies?
Yeah, we really don't have time for hobbies.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, theater is our hobby. It's just it's a passion. It's what we do.
Gotcha. So, in closing, what can you tell our audience that you have coming up? What's your next thing coming up to the stage?
The next show that we will be doing is called The Return of the Rook.
The Return of the Rook.
And that will be in August at the Lowry House.
Okay.
And it is a sequel to a play that we did a couple of years ago, a murder mystery, which went over very well and was one of the most fun shows that I've done.
Okay.
And also, I got to perform in that one, even though I didn't intend to. One of my actors had to drop out, and I had to step into the role. And ended up being so glad that worked out that way, because it was my favorite role ever.
What role was it?
I got to be the Rook.
Oh.
But of course, you don't know that until the very end.
Well, good. And you said that's coming up in August at the Lowry House?
Yes.
Well, Wayne, I do appreciate you driving out here to Goose Pond Cottage Studios and spending a little bit of time with me. And we just look forward to everything from horror to comedy to children's to music to serious. Everything that you have to write, we are just eager to see on the stage, and we enjoy supporting you. And we just thank you. Thank you for sharing your talent with all of us.
Well, thank you very much.
In closing, we'd like to thank Wayne Miller for coming and visiting us here at Goose Pond Cottage Studios. And we hope that you keep watching for more interviews with actors and directors and technical people here at the studios. And until next time, keep treading the boards.